Okay, we're in my pantry area here, and I'm gonna get some seed out of my freezer, and I keep them in these containers here. And these are vacuum sealed, and I'm gonna get one of these candy onions that I froze on September, vacuum sealed and froze on September 2016, as you can see there, and we're going to plant those. Okay, so instead of going to Dixondale Farms, where I usually get my candy onions next spring, I'm going to attempt to grow the seed, and we're going to start today. Today is November 5th, and I've got one of my fawn containers. It's got the net cup in it, and I'm going to fill it with these rice hulls. And well, it's not rice hulls, it's peat moss primarily, at a 2-to-1 ratio of peat moss to the light stuff, which is parboiled rice hulls. It's also got some lime in it to make the soil a little less acidic from the, which peat causes. It's not really soil, it's peat in rice hulls. Now, occasionally I say soil and people think actual garden stuff, the stuff that the grass there is growing in, but this is not. So when I say soil, I mean growing medium. So this is basically an earth. There's no value to it. It's peat moss. It's got some rice hulls in it. And we're going to put that in here, and we're going to plant the candy onions in it. And then we'll attempt to germinate them in the winter greenhouse there, and see how it goes. Seeds are really tiny and they're dark, so I'm not going to really be able to see them when I put them in there. So the tip here is to kind of start on one side and spread them evenly, just kind of watching how you're releasing them, just like so. You probably can't even see them dropping, can you? But we're going to do that in the whole pot, and it doesn't really matter if they're too crowded or not, because they're not going to grow in here their whole life. They're just going to grow in here until I can pot them. I made a little label here. This candy onion, planted 11/5, November the 5th. And to keep the moisture in until it germinates, we just put a little piece of greenhouse plastic over it like this, just like we did the other containers over there. And we're going to watch for them to germinate. Planting the candy onions on the 5th. Today's the 13th. Check out all those sweet candy onion sprouts that have come up. Pretty cool, huh? Here's the other part of the equation. These are candy onions, and you saw the date on those. And I put approximately 100 in each package. And you can look here and you can see that we have got really good germination. I'm not going to count them, but I'm going to say excellent germination. So onions after a year, vacuum sealed and frozen, definitely work. And today is December the 4th, so it's been about a month, and this is the kind of growth we got now from those. Onions are getting kind of long and a little bit soft feeling, so I think I'm going to give them a haircut. Okay, I've taken the onion beds and I've cleaned them up, and I used the board there after I got a lot of the weeds and stuff out, and I flattened it down. I need a pretty solid surface. I'm going to put weed fabric down and probably tack it to the sides all the way around to keep the wind from blowing it up. So let's get after it. Okay, took my old trailer, went around to the back over there where the new greenhouse is going to be built, and where I put my old bollards off the old deck, and I got some, and these are what we're going to use to fasten the landscape fabric to the beds over there. And that's pretty much it. Landscape fabric over. I put 5 stakes across the middle where the seam is. Just try to keep some wind from getting underneath it and ripping it off. So the main reason why I'm doing this is to keep crabgrass out. This stuff is absolutely menacing It just kills me every year, like in this bed here. So that's what we're doing. Next thing to do is to create little holes to plant the onions. I use tomato twine tied to tent stakes for a lot of my garden rows. Keep things straight and kind of neat. And I did this last year. It's very similar, and stretched it across at 6-inch spacing. And that's what onions need, about 6 inches. So that's what I'm going to do. I've got my little heat gun here, and I brought this out with an extension cord from my RV over there, and that's what I'm going to use to make the holes. And then again, I have the dibber I used last year, all kept in this bucket, and that's what I'm going to use to make the divots for the onion sets. Alright, here are the holes created with the heat gun. I highly recommend that if you're into hydroponics, or even in this case raised beds, and you're using mulch, plastic mulch, the heat gun, what happens is if you cut this and you don't sear it, then it frays and it becomes a flat out mess. So the heat gun, when you touch it, it melts it and it keeps it from fraying. So it does a pretty good job. Now, it's not pretty. Overall, it's not pretty. The spacing isn't exactly right, but then I don't think gardening is about perfection. It's about getting the job done, and I think this will work just great for me. I brought the onions outside, and we're going to give them a final haircut before we plant them. Yeah, so here's my take. I've got these in water right now, and I got 61 onion sets there. Not sets, I keep saying sets, transplants. And that's pretty good. It's not as good as I'd like. I probably should have planted twice as many, but I think I planted 100 that was in the packet. Anyway, yeah, so I've got 61. Now we need to go plant these suckers. I've got most of one side done with these, and I counted 60, so somehow I miscounted or lost one somewhere. So anyway, we have 60 planted. And it looks like most of the onions have taken off. In fact, I don't see a dead one. I see green growth on every single one. So that means they're probably going to be okay.